Hello there, kia ora. What a weekend! On Friday, the government tried to hide its latest changes to the Waitangi Tribunal with what's known as a Friday dump, releasing really shitty, unpopular news where it gets buried on a Friday afternoon. About the time that taxpayer union poll came out, actually. Anyway, the news this week was that 10 members of the Waitangi Tribunal, some of the most learned academics and experts in tikanga, were being replaced with some questionable choices, like right-wing blogger Philip Crump, whose works include, Stories for News Talk ZB gloating about the anti-trans conference that was being put on by the Tamakis not being cancelled by council, platforming that Hobson's pledge-loving real estate agent who refused to undertake mandatory industry training on Te Tiriti, a heap of anti-mandate stuff, and quite a bit on Golriz. Oh, and they also added to the tribunal a Manawatu councillor who uses opinion polls run by Stuff and interviews with Liz Gunn as evidence he bases his perspectives and decisions on. Yeah. Oh, and then Sunday, the Prime Minister announced a cabinet reshuffle. A reshuffle before the start of the political year actually isn't that unusual. Most Prime Ministers do it until, Luxon, really. When he got in, he said he would only reshuffle when he felt it was needed. So why is it needed now? Well, last week's TPU Curia poll, the polling company of choice actually for right-wing parties despite not being governed by the rules of political polling regulation, said that the popularity of the party is tanking. But even worse, almost 60% of people polled thought the country was going in the wrong direction. That's a bit of a jump on previous polls. So, in a totally not desperate seeming move, the Prime Minister reshuffled his Titanic deck chairs. Sorry, his cabinet chairs. Gone is Dr. Shane Reti from Health. You know, an actual doctor who may have been ineffective and actually causing harm in the role, but at least he's a doctor. His replacement, the dimmest simian in Parliament. Our health portfolio is now being run by an evangelical Christian who doesn't believe women should have the right to choose what they do with their body, so much so that he ran an anti-abortion club at uni and voted against abortion reform and liked tweets that celebrated the removal of Roe versus Wade in the US. And he's against cancelling the cruel and scientifically proven ineffective practice of conversion therapy. He has trouble reading bilingual signs, and when he held the portfolio for transport was often called out for his complete arrogance at the way he ignored expert advice about the increase in road deaths and injuries his policies would cause. As local government minister, his choices were driven by political ideology, with local government members asking publicly if he even knew what local government did, as he was so clearly out of touch in making decisions that ignored reality and expert advice. He has been put in a role that will see further cuts to one of our most important public sector cornerstones and has no remorse already for his actions, which is sure to be a great thing for the future of the country's health sector. Taking over local government from Simeon, well, that's Simon Watts, the North Shore MP who refuses to join us for the show that we do on Friday nights because apparently my shirts are too loud. As Environment Minister, Watts has delivered us the first rise in emissions output in a decade and set out policies which mean that we're no longer on target to reach emission targets for our international trade obligations by 2050. As Lester Levy's number 2 when he ran the DHB that ended up leaving Middlemore with black mould on the walls, he's now in charge of local government in a local government election year. Oh, that's going to end so well. Oh, and to make sure that the South Island stop saying that the National Party are ignoring them by cutting funding to the Dunedin Hospital, threatening funding to other hospitals, telling the Grey District Council that they had to build their own non-black mould-filled police station, crippled their local councils with some of the biggest water infrastructure costs being returned to them, and cutting them off with, the ferry cancellations. Rangitata MP James Meagher has been given the MP for the South Island role. There's other changes as well, like Melissa Lee, totally out of a position in or out of cabinet. But here's the problem for the Prime Minister and National. They can't reshuffle their coalition partners, but the actions of their partners, a tobacco lobby-loving Associate Health Minister, a childless Associate Education Minister who Snapchats teenagers, a gun-mad Minister for Firearms, the Minister for Mining whose party rhetoric around race led to his own brother being abused by a racist piece of shit spouting the lines New Zealand First members scream online. The thing that makes it feel like this country isn't going in the right direction, well, a large chunk of them are being caused by the parties the Prime Minister has no control over because he's a weak leader, flailing around hoping no one notices how poorly things are going. But, if we put this deck chair over there, at least you'll get a lovely view of the iceberg. Hey, thanks for checking out today's video. Make sure you like, share, subscribe so you get more updates as we go along. We deal with these guys for the rest of the year.